Hello and welcome to the Mike Leaf Show. I'm Grant Wall, joined as always by Winona State head coach Mike Leaf. And you've had some different types of wins, a couple where you had a comfortable winning margin, had to come from behind in Florida, then had to come from behind and win in overtime down in Florida as well. And so it's been kind of just a very interesting start to your year so far.
It has, and you know what, and I welcome that though, I really do, because as the season goes on, and like I've said before, there's a lot of parity in our league, that you're going to have a lot of close games down the line, especially on the road, and so we've got to be able to overcome, some controversies where we may miss some bunnies, miss some shots there that should go in, and for me, our focus right now has been on our rebounding. We've got to do a better job rebounding, and turnovers are a pet peeve of mine as any coach, and so we've got to do a better job with taking care of the basketball as well.
You came from behind to beat Northwoods down in Florida, and then a couple days later came from behind in the second half, beating Barry in overtime. Do you like playing those close games? You mentioned how competitive the NSIC is, and we'll touch on that later. Do you like playing those close games right off the bat, kind of see what your team has and how they handle some adversity?
Well, I don't know if you like to see that. You lose some hairs, as you go through that process. But I must say with Northwood, it was interesting with Raleigh Massimino was the head coach for Villanova and now down at Northwood, and had a great conversation with them actually at one of our practices and then before the game. But that was really unique, and I really loved the experience. But we were talking about that, and I know he's got a great team down there, and actually Barry's got some super athletes. But I think that, during the course of a basketball game, you will have some peaks and valleys, and you try and eliminate those valleys, and you want to play a strong 40 minutes. But when you see a strength in a team, if you do come across that you have certain players that will step up to the plate and get the job done. And that's something that we're trying to preach to our basketball team, is that, during the course of that game, we have our huddles that we have. Let's express some opinions. Let's delegate, and let's, it's a simple game. Let's score at one end, and let's stop them at the other. And that's what we have to do.
Coming back from Florida, then came home, beat Clark College Monday night here in Winona, 111-66. Kind of a sluggish start, a few of those valleys that you talked about there in the first half, but then came out on fire in the second. 63 points in that second half, and a 25-6 run over the first 5.5 minutes. It really, kind of put the game away. What was your message to the team at halftime? Because it looked like a completely different team, really focused when they came out to start the second half.
Yep, Grant, I was really disappointed in our first half. It was lackadaisical. We weren't playing the greatest defense. Communication was nil. Rebounding was so-so, and we had 10 turnovers. And that's just unacceptable. And, for a team to have a pride factor, I told them at halftime, you don't play the game that long, and your 4 years goes by pretty quickly. And you've got to embrace it, and you got to go step out on the floor, and you got to play to your best abilities on any given night. And we didn't do that. And so, hopefully that message got across. And in that second half, we came out, like you said, and we set the tone that first 5 minutes and carried it over. But it was unacceptable. And if we're going to do some good things, we cannot let that happen again.
Leading that charge there in the second half was Anthony Tucker. He had 16 points in the first 5 minutes and change of that half, had 20 on the ball game. He is really, and we've talked about him, seems like every time we sit down we talk about Anthony, but there's a thing that he does at least once a game where you go, that's a special talent.
Yeah, he is. He's a great player, and I think to be honest with you, I think his best basketball is yet to come. And we had a conversation the other day, and he is a great outside shooter, better than he has performed to date. And that kind of scares me a little bit, but it's a true fact. Back in high school and out of high school, he's just, his confidence level is getting that much higher, and he's going to be that much better, down the line. But he makes people around him better players, and his focus is there. After halftime, I think he was disappointed in his performance as well, and he set the tone in that first 5 minutes.
And then some of the other players, Ben Fisher hit all 5 of his shots, and Warrior fans know what type of player, what type of shooter he is. Clayton Vetty established himself down low, got some good things from C.J. Erickson, guys coming off the bench. It really was kind of a team group effort on Monday to beat Clark.
Yeah, I think in that second half especially. But, even our inside game, I think we could have done more damage inside. I didn't think we did as well, but it wasn't so much. It was getting the ball to our post players. Our passing wasn't the best, but in the second half it got better. So it's all that high energy level that we have to start the game. But I agree with you. There's a lot of kids that come off the bench for us that can do some good things, and we just got to be ready. You never know when your number's going to be called, and I don't care if you're playing a minute or two. You can make a big difference when you're out there. You get 2 steals for us, or you hit a 3-pointer. You're going to help us win a basketball game. So we've got to make sure that everybody's on the same page and ready to play.
With the NSIC schedule starting on Saturday, what's the one thing that you want to see out of your team, maybe performing better in a certain area, or just one thing that you want to see them do better?
Oh, I've got more than one. No, literally, it's I go back and I tell our team this is team defense is 50% of it is communication. And Tom Izzo, Michigan State, always has a great program year in, year out. And one thing when I was at a clinic and listened to him talk about was the communication. And he goes, it's the toughest thing to teach. If you can get your guys to do it, you're going to be that much better defensively. So we've got to keep pushing those buttons and getting that done. Rebounding for me is important, obviously, and we've got to do a better job of that. And it's not just your Armstrongs and Vettys of the world. It's your guards have to crash the boards, and we've got to help in that area as well. And then lastly, I was proud of the fact last night we had 10 turnovers in the first half, but we didn't have a turnover in the second half, so we did take care of the basketball. And that's to go 20 minutes without a turnover. That's darn good. So those 3 areas are things we have to focus on, and getting into this Upper Iowa game, a team that is up and coming. They've got some talented players. They'd love nothing better to do than knock us off. So we got to have our A game and play our best.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be right back here on the other side of the break. Matt Prink's going to sit down with Warrior guard Brad Meyer, talk a little bit about the senior and Winona natives last season here at Winona State.
Friends, when you save them money on trucks. Like a new 2011 Toyota Tacoma. Our regular cab is under $21,000. The best-selling compact pickup for 5 years in a row. Making new friends every day at Dahl Toyota.
At Hy-Vee, your health is what matters most.
That's why we offer hundreds of organic and heart-healthy foods.
Expertise in disease management and over 100 in-store dietitians. We'll customize a diet and exercise program for you and your family. We're your personal health team, here to keep you healthy and happy.
Power, intensity, courage, teamwork, reaching back for more, knowing you're a champion. That's our purple. Winona State Athletics. Find your
Welcome back to the Mike Leaf Show. I'm here now with one of 2 seniors, Brad Meyer. And Brad, you guys come back from a Florida trip. You guys are 4-0 on the season. How would you assess the team's performance so far this season?
It's been a process. We're still meshing together still, even though we have a lot of returning players from last year. But we have a lot of players just stepping up into new roles. So it's actually been pretty good right now. I'm pretty excited about the rest of the season as well.
You guys come back from the Florida trip. You guys have taken some trips down there. You went to Hawaii a couple of years ago. How did this team kind of come together on the Florida trip?
It's just a good chance for everybody to bond. I mean, we're real busy down there. Not a ton of downtime, but just getting your roommates. We were 3 people to a room, so it's a good chance to bond with those guys. And then just in the vans, driving an hour to a game, good chance, like I said, good chance to just bond with everybody.
You guys had 2 fairly close games down there. You beat Northwood by 4, also took Barry University into overtime. How important was it for you guys to maybe have those close games? And in both games, you guys were kind of battling back in the second half, you know, the 4-point game and the overtime game. How important was those close games to maybe make this team that much better?
It gives you confidence going down the stretch. To know that early on in the season, battling like that in a hostile environment, and on top of that, that's kind of a vacation for us, but we're down there to play basketball. So knowing that we can take care of business and really just pull together and push through adversity.
Speaking of that Barry game, you guys held Barry in overtime after they came down and tied it. You guys were actually trailing until 3 minutes left in the ball game. You held them scoreless for 4 minutes and 23 seconds. How important is it for you guys to maybe dial up that defense this season?
Well, we've been stressing defense a lot this year, from individual workouts in August all the way up until now. Defense is what wins championships, and defense leads to offense as well. So every day we start out defensive drills, and it's good to see that the carryover is happening.
Looking back at last night's victory over Clark College, you guys exploded for over 100 points, won by, I think, somewhat, 40 points. You had a thunderous dunk down there. How important is it for this team to recapture that McCown magic, the McCown Maniacs? You've been here for years. You've seen it. You've won the national championships. Can this team recapture that magic?
Yeah, we want to recapture the magic, but also we want to have our own identity. We want to continue to bring in the big crowds like we used to have, and that's a big factor as well. Coming home after being on the road, we're in a comfortable environment. We got a little lackadaisical, but it's going to be a process this year, and the main thing is we don't want to try to be like another team in the past. We want to be ourselves.
You're the hometown kid, the hometown hero, we like to call you on the radio, and you're playing in front of a lot of your family, a lot of your friends, and you're a guy who can come off the bench for this team. What do you feel your role is as a senior, as that guy off the bench who can maybe dial it up on defense as well?
I just try to bring in energy, try to get some rebounds. Last year, rebounding was our Achilles tendon. So I just try to bring in a lot of energy off the bench, and even if it's for 2 minutes that I get in there, I mean, if it gives the person that starts a spell, that's what I got to do. So it's kind of exciting to get in there and have a chance to show what I can do.
All right, now kind of breaking down the player profile of Brad Meyer, get to know him a little better. You're on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. There's a lot of division here. Are you a Viking or a Packer fan?
Oh, definitely Viking, born and raised.
Okay, well then going off that question, what is your favorite color other than purple?
I'd have to say green, which is kind of awkward, but I don't know what it is.
Green isn't a bad color. All right, are you a flip-flops or a tennis shoes guy?
Depends on the season.
I guess, did you bring the flip-flops down to Florida?
I had to buy a pair because mine were pretty ratty, so had to break the bank a little bit.
All right, a lot of pizza is eaten after road games. What do you think is the best, or what in your mind, what is the best pizza? Where do you get that pizza from? Post-game pizza.
Well, a lot of times we'll get Domino's just because of deals, but I don't know. We've had a few from the cities. A lot of times we won't know the names. It's just, here's your order, and eat your pizza and be happy. I
also can't remember where we stopped after that Gopher game. It was somewhere up in the cities. Mm-hmm. But if we could ever find that place, it's fairly good pizza. I like it.
Well, I'm sure that when we come back from Concordia, that'll be a spot. That's been, for as long as I've been here, we normally run through there, so it's kind of nice.
Also, on the trip to Florida, who needed the most sun on the team? Who needed more vitamin D?
Probably Skyler, and he definitely got it within the first 48 hours. He was a tomato. So.
All right, well, thank you very much, Brad. Looking ahead at Upper Iowa this week, kind of getting back into the NSIC. The alumni game should be a lot of fun this upcoming weekend. Coming up next on the Mike Leaf Show, Grant Wall and I will kind of talk about this last week and last night's game and the win over Clark College.
The Winona State Student Athlete Advisory Committee is participating in Toys for Tots. Donate a new toy on Saturday, December 4th at the men's and women's basketball doubleheader and be entered to win great prizes.
Anxiety of banking, money, and credit planning to assume qualities of frightened feline, i.e. scaredy cat.
I never heard of financial fraidy-catus, but I think I had it. To me, financial fraidy-catus is when you walk into a bank and it scares you. Nobody's smiling, nobody will help you, and you're not quite sure where to go. Merchants Bank is different. You walk in and you're greeted with a smile, so they make you feel comfortable right off the bat. That's why Merchants Bank is the bank that service builds.
Mike Leaf Show. Matt Prink with me here on the Warrior Sports Network. And Matt, last night, Clark College 111-66. It was a second half beatdown, for lack of a better way to phrase it. Warriors came out on a 25-6 run, and they looked focused. If this is the way the team plays all year, watch out. We've got something special on our hands.
Well, you know, they had those 10 turnovers in the first half, and most of them came trying to get it into Clayton Vetty, Joe Armstrong, other guys like that. And, you know, they're just a little lazy with their passes, as Mike Leaf said. But, you know, they completely turned it around. They scored 60 points in the second half. They had 0 turnovers. And, you know, you got just about every guy into the game, with the exception of the redshirt freshman. And, you know, come down the stretch, that's what you're going to need. And production from top to the bottom. You know, that's what Winona State had last night.
And they've been getting it from everywhere. We talk a lot about the Vettys, the Ericksons, the Tuckers, the Fishers, but when you go down that bench, John Wahlberg can hit shots with anybody in the conference. You have incredible athletes who are playing within themselves right now in Xander Culver, Kellen Taylor. Taylor Cameron has looked fantastic. You got a guy like Caleb Palkert who's coming back. There's a lot of weapons on this team. And guys who can come in and bring the energy that Coach Leaf talked about. I mean, the sky is really the limit for this team.
Well, you saw that in the second half. You know, just about a whole new 8 guys came in that second half, and you know, Clark College or Clark University, whatever you want to call them, you know, they wanted to play into that high-tempo, high-paced basketball game, and Winona State just ended up running away with it because, you know, they would sub in a guy for Ben Fisher like Taylor Cameron. Then Xander Culver would come in, so it was constantly running back and forth, and Winona State shooting particularly well from behind the arc and just doing a nice job of not turning the ball over and taking those, you know, appropriate shots. Even when you're winning by 30, you know, they weren't just throwing up prayers. I mean, Dan Kratz, Taylor Cameron hit his first 3 of his young career, so it's good to see those guys, you know, start taking those shots that, you know, maybe they'll take later in the season.
That's right, and we would be remiss before we finish talking about Clark to talk about the stretch that Anthony Tucker had at the beginning of that second half. He scored 16 points in the first 5.5 minutes, including a stretch where came down on a fast break, got fouled, called an intentional foul on the kid from Clark, but Anthony is strong enough that he actually got a circus layup up that somehow went in, makes both free throws, team gets the ball back, Ben Fisher hits a 3. It was a 7-point possession for the Warriors that really opened things up. Get a defensive stop the next time down, Tucker drains a 3 of his own. Just a an unbelievable stretch by Anthony Tucker, and you see what type of athlete he is. He can hit the shot, he can take it in, he's physical, he can match up with anybody. I mean, just a fantastic stretch of basketball for Anthony Tucker.
And it's great to hear, Mike Leaf says the best is yet to come with Anthony Tucker.
And that's terrifying.
And it's, if you're any other team in the NSIC, that's the last thing you want to happen. And, coming off a year when, you lose David Johnson, a guy who's been here for just about, you feel like forever. A great shooter, a guy who can get to the rim. And now you see Anthony Tucker assume that role last night, powering through, getting a few and-one opportunities, hitting some deep threes, and, he doesn't look like the quickest player if you're in the crowd. You think, oh, he's not that quick, but if he gives you that quick crossover and he gets down the lane, boy, this NSIC conference is going to be in trouble.
There is not a player there aren't very many players that I've seen who, once they turn that corner, get to the lane, and then it's just like that, and they're at the rim. I mean, he has like you said, he doesn't look fast, but he has just a lightning quick first step, and he can get there and then score on anybody.
Oh, and he's an unselfish player.
Yep.
First and foremost, when he goes down the lane, his first idea is, okay, who am I going to pass it to when they collapse? But most oftentimes, he glides down that lane. He gets there so quick that the players aren't able to drop down on him, and he gets the finger roll or able to hit that spot up jumper. So, looking forward, a deep team with a starting five that could go as deep as a starting 8.
Yeah.
A lot of teams in the NSIC are going to have a lot of troubles with this basketball team.
And we talked about Tucker's shooting and his ability to pass the ball and get other people involved. But we can't overlook Ben Fisher. We really have 2 point guards out there, Fisher and Tucker, and both of them can shoot, both can get to the rim, both are strong players, and both love to distribute the basketball. Fisher is an outstanding player at getting other guys the ball when and where they need it.
Well, he always has, we talk about the usual stat line, and, he always has 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 points. Last night he didn't miss. He got to the free throw line, hit from downrange, and, when he gets on fire, teams are going to have a lot of trouble trying to designate who they want to try and shut down. Do you go Ben Fisher? Do you go Anthony Tucker? Then you got the 2 guys down low, so, top to bottom, it's going to be a tough team to guard.
Yeah, Ben Fisher made all 5 of his shots against Clark, and we don't even have time to talk about Vetty and Armstrong and Erickson, who have really started to impose their will down low for the Warriors. So it is going to be a fun ride. If you are in the Winona area, get down here to McCowan Gymnasium. They are fun games to watch with a really, really talented Winona State basketball team. We will be back. Final block, we'll sit back down with Coach Leaf, talk a little bit more about getting ready for the NSIC schedule in Upper Iowa coming into town on Saturday.
At Hy-Vee, your health is what matters most.
That's why we offer hundreds of organic and heart-healthy foods.
Expertise in disease management
And over 100 in-store dietitians.
We'll customize a diet and exercise program for you and your family. We're your personal health team, here to keep you healthy and happy.
I chose Winona State because student athletes graduate at a higher rate.
I can stay closer to home.
And being an important part of the community.
I chose Winona State because I can double major.
And take part in campus activities. I chose Winona State because the classrooms are smaller.
Students have more time to spend with their instructors.
And I can compete for a national championship.
I chose Winona State for all these reasons and more.
I chose.
I chose.
I chose. I chose Winona State.
Are you looking for great off-campus housing? Great River Management and Sales has a large selection of houses and apartments representing many of Winona's property owners. Owners and renters rely on Great River Management. Stop by the Great River Boat at Main and Broadway and see what we can do for you.
Show here on the Warrior Sports Network. And Coach, we just talked to Brad Meyer, a hometown kid playing for the Warriors. And you and your staff just added another hometown kid, Mark Blacklock, who plays at Winona High, signed on to play next year. And what have you seen in Mark's game that made you want to bring him here, part of the Warrior program?
Well, I think he was always like a little backstage with Alec Brown, but I tell you what, he's very, very talented. He can shoot the ball extremely well. He jumps out of the gym, and we talked about needing rebounders. Well, hopefully he's going to be that guy. And but he can. He's a physically strong young man. Got a great personality. He's a great student, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the table.
Another one of those athletes who can do multiple things that you talk about so much. A guy who can play down low, and you talked about his physicality, but also can
handle the basketball, do multiple things, and I think that's a key to successes.
Conference season starts Saturday. The Warriors host Upper Iowa. The women kick things off at 5 p.m. here at McCowan Gymnasium, followed by the men's game at 7. How do you feel going into this first league game?
Well, I think it's this time of season right now. We've got finals coming up. We just got back from a major trip, and so I think it's a nice thing that we have the one-game weekend where normally you would have 2. So playing your travel partner, but I'm feeling confident. I think pieces to the puzzle are coming into place. I think we know that every single game is so important. I mean, you get to those national rankings, you get to the regional rankings, all those things come into play. But like I tell the guys, it's not what other people do, it's what we do, and you got to take care of business. And the game is fun. You play it for a reason. Just go out there and do the little things, carry over what we do in practice into the games, and good things will happen. So we've just got to make sure that we do those little things. We talked earlier, the communication, the rebounding, do those little things, and it'll take care of itself.
We talked a lot about this team's depth, and that has really been on display throughout the first 4 games. When you've needed somebody to spell someone or get some production off the bench, you've had that.
We have, and you mentioned about Brad Meyer coming off the bench. He's been one of the best sparks that we've had, and he's able to he's only about 6'4", but he plays big. He can drive and take the ball to the basket. He gets us a lot of rebounds, and he's been a great spark. And there's others as well, from Kellen Taylor to John Wahlberg, and they all have their unique abilities. But again, they have facets of their game that are multiple. So we expect those. They've got to be ready. It's a difficult situation when you don't start in a game and you got to wait 5 or 6 minutes, and all of a sudden your name's called upon. And it's unique. But boy, we need them, and we need them big.
Winona State Athletic Department Saturday at the game will be collecting new toys for Toys for Tots. If you want to donate to Toys for Tots, bring those to the game on Saturday. There'll be an area set up, raffles given out to people who donate. I know how important giving back to the community is for you, Coach, and your team. You have to be excited that the Warriors are doing this, helping some kids in the community this Christmas.
Absolutely, and we have such a great fan base, and being a native of Winona, the support we get is just tremendous, and to be able to do those types of things, I think, is important. And I must add, too, by the way, on Saturday we have at 12 noon is our alumni game. And, for those of you that haven't seen coaches Chris Gove and Tom Brown play basketball, it's quite a treat.
And I hear that Warrior Assistant Athletic Director Travis Whipple is going to be suiting up as well. So
and he's in good shape, boy. He's in good shape. And no, it'll be a lot of fun. We've got quite a few that are coming back from David Zellman, who was such a great player for us, Pat Hayes, Sarge Lingenfelser, and there's so many that are coming back. So it's enjoyable for them to get together, have a little fun, and watch. They're actually excited about watching us play because so many of them do live such a great distance that they're able to get back and watch. So it'll be fun.
It'll be a good Saturday of basketball. The alumni game, the women's alumni game, takes place then after the men's game. The women, the current Warrior women, will play at 5 with the men to follow. So it'll be a full basketball afternoon here in Winona. That's all the time we have this week for the Mike Leaf Show. For Coach Leaf and Matt Prink, I'm Grant Wall. Thanks very much for watching, and we will see you Saturday as the Warriors host Upper Iowa.